You're wrong about Berserk. Well, not you specifically, but I so often bear witness to these zany and or wacky theories regarding Berserk that make me wonder, have you people even read this anime? 900 God Hand? Come on, you know, the obvious stuff. I mean, we all know Skull Knight is actually a Isidro from the future. Conrad is planning on enacting a coup against the God Hand, and Roderick has been a hologram this whole time. The boat, too. Oh wait, it's not a boat. It's a warship, a holographic warship. Disclaimer, this content is taken from skullknight.net. I'm using it as a baseline to comment on the collective Berserk hive mind and how oblivious it can be at times. I want to help squash all this misinformation like the ant it is, and along the way maybe even add a bit of advocatus diaboli in favor of all these heinous theories. That said, go read the actual page in its entirety for full effect. Alright, let's dig in. Point 0. Bad Berserk theories. Alright, this is the part of the video where I like to take a little break and talk about some theories. Not just any theories, terrible ones. And with me to review them is none other than the Masked Man himself. The Masked Man.
Yo, how's it going everybody? It's the Masked Man. Now, some of these aren't all that bad, and some of these are so bad that they're good.
Donovan is Casca's father.
Could you imagine how awkward that would be?
Wait, is it because of their skin color? Grunbeld is future Isidro.
It's because they're gingers, right?
Yeah, it's like the same thing with Casca and Donovan. They have similar attributes, so they're the same person.
Here's my question though. Doesn't Grunbeld have like his own novel explaining his backstory and childhood?
Oh yeah.
And he's like a giant from as a kid. Yeah, last time I checked, Isidro is no giant. And Isidro is not cool enough to turn into Grunbeld.
Unfortunately not.
No, bro. Could you imagine if he was like the same race as Grunbeld? He could breathe fire? Now we're talking, bro.
Okay, if you want to see our full discussion on these silly old theories, check out the Masked Man's channel. Anyone who do Berserk content is a major baller, am I right, fellas? Point 1. Götz lies outside of fate, and also Skull Knight. So yeah, whenever you talk about fate regarding Berserk, it's causality, you mean. It's not really a huge deal, just a tiny misnomer, but causality itself does exist in Berserk, obviously, and the idea of evil is what came to control it, and by a direct tendril, the God Hand. It is the only supreme force in Berserk, and to think Götz, or anyone for that matter, is beyond it, is unfortunately a stupid, dumb time thought. Götz breaking from what was planned for him isn't him breaking causality, it's him kinda stretching it a little bit. The big, important, preordained events still occur, just not exactly the way everyone thinks they might. It's the equivalent of a fish making a ripple in a pond, and thus the reflection of the moon on the water changes. Ultimately, insignificant. People think because Götz exists in this mysterious interstice that he is above causality, whereas in reality, Götz existing between planes is what enables this ability to make those tiny splashes. If he was still a full-on, non-interstitial being, he couldn't even splash. Skull Knight thinking he might be outwitting causality atop Ganishka, pulling a fast one on God, fulfills exactly the opposite of that intent, and becomes the piece of the puzzle Griffith needed at that very moment. He's not free of it, and neither is Götz. The biggest thing pointing toward Götz still being in the hands of the idea of evil is the fact that he is literally transporting a behelit, unbeknownst to him, directly to its owner. A behelit, or beherit, is directly linked to the idea of evil, and cannot be activated ahead of its appointed time. It will be in the hand of the one who needs it when they need it. Clearly, Götz won't use it, as that'd defeat the whole point of Berserk, but since he carries it, he is being directly influenced by the thing he swears to destroy. Point 2. Since Griffith is so strong, why doesn't Götz just power up by activating his behelit? Yikes, these dudes need to read Berserk again, but I see it all the time. Remember when Ganishka was frozen when facing Griffith? Remember how Zod now serves him directly? Remember how all apostles in one way or another do the God Hand's bidding? Yeah, well, imagine Götz as an apostle attempting to kill Griffith, his would-be inherent master. Not happening. He would literally be unable. That's not how the Berserk world works. He'd have to make a sacrifice, too. What, Casca? You're dreaming. He cares infinitely more about Casca than his drive to kill Griffith. Beyond that, Götz is a human, the real deal. That's a mainstay theme in Berserk. The struggle. Wouldn't make sense for Miura and Götz to abandon that now. Point 3. Griffith had no choice, and there is no free will. This one's pretty dumb because, well, Götz exercises free will all the time. It's just kept in check by causality. He can choose to kill every apostle or human he wants. He's choosing that. You think the God Hand want their emissaries to be slaughtered? No, of course not. The God Hand influenced everything, and enough things succumb to that influence in order to further its agenda. But others, like Götz, use free will to actively go against it. I guess you could argue even Götz going against these influences is causality at work, that somehow him disobeying is part of the idea of evil's plan. But if you think about it, that seems like a huge waste of time, Mr. Big Godheart. Why not just exercise your supreme verdict and make Götz go down the easy road where he kills no apostles and gets slain during the eclipse? Because there's free will in Berserk, and the God Hand aren't all powerful. That's why. Unfortunately, Griffith wanted to sacrifice, so he did. Point 4. Is Griffith's sacrifice incomplete? This one isn't bad. I can understand the confusion, but in the case of Berserk, the act of being branded is what's important. Griffith still transformed, and he's not any less powerful because some of his apostles didn't get a bigger snack. If Griffith still needed them dead to be complete, he would have killed them long before now. Point 5. Falcon Dark and Falcon Light. What's the deal? Well, both are Griffith. Wake up, sheepostles. Part 6. The Boat. To start with, the seahorse is a warship, not a boat. What? I'll have to disagree there, exercising my right as Berserko man. That, my friends, is a big, brown boat. And when it comes down to it, yeah, we as an audience experienced that boat for like 10 years. But story-wise, between setting sail and landing, there were only about 60 plus chapters where the gang were on or around that boat. Still seems like a lot, but in those chapters, some did not focus on Götz, some took place off-boat, and some, if not most, were actually pretty dang good chapters. I liked them. It's just unfortunate we were stuck without Götz and Casca's story progressing for so long in real life. But to skip their naval journey entirely would have been very narratively stupid. Blame Miura for taking so long to write chapters, not for the chapters themselves. Part 7. The Black Swordsman arc is a bitch and I hate it. Only babies say this. Spoils? What? The whole point of the first manga arc is knowing what's to come. Not exactly what, but that looming doom creeps and creeps in the back of your mind, and then when it hits, you're still surprised. You see Griff in volume 3 and you're like, wow, this bird dude must have stolen Gus's sandwich or something. But little did you know that it's infinitely worse. This arc is so important because it introduces the tone Berserk eventually picks back up, and dumps a heap of world building on us to cause us to go, what the puck? And keep wondering that until it circles back in a crescendo of calamity. Golden Age is a flashback, a long flashback, but a flashback nonetheless. The Black Swordsman arc is necessary, and it's good. Part 8. Götz got a power-up from the Sea God? Basically, this is just a general misconception on how existing in the interstice works. The sword isn't getting more powerful with each fallen astral foe, it's just allowing the sword to reach into the astral plane. Götz wouldn't be able to wound astral beings with a normal sword, no matter how strong that sword was. Just like no matter how strong Zod was, he couldn't hurt Ganishka's astral body, but Götz could. Part 9. What happened when Griffith became himself again? So we all know the God Hand exist in their own realm. They can't appear in our physical world. But what would happen if they could? The idea of evil, as well as Griffith, wanted to find out, so he sought out to gain corporeality once more. A lot of things culminated to bring forth this event, but basically what it amounted to is this thing being the shell, and Götz and Casca's baby being the flesh. The manifested malice of those who have died of plague or torture, full of their bitterness and desire for salvation, became the jelly that put it all together. Thus Griffith was able to walk amongst the physical again. Makes sense to me. Part 10. Is Griffith Femto? Or is it the other way around? Or is Götz Skull Knight even? This one's pretty easy. Griffith, as we know him, became Femto. That's really it. No new entity, just a changed one. Part 11. Who is this boy? Is he a boy? Yep, he's these dudes' son. But also, he's Griffith. More exactly, they share a physical body. He influences Griffith from time to time, and he even shows up on his own, suppressing Griffith's mind and form, but only on full moons, where minds are more unhinged. Part 12. What is evil? Read the article if you care about this one. I'm not evil, so I don't care. Part 13. Why apostles be different? Apostles were once humans. Their form reflects their previous human identities. Strong warriors, fat, loser, and everything in between. Part 14. What exactly happened to Ganishka that made the world change? Yikes. Big topic. Watch my Blastral World video if you haven't, or again, read the article. Part 15. Who the God Hand is? Me, duh. But in a more real sense, they were once man or woman, like Griffith were, and succumbed to similar events as him to become such powerful conduits of evil. Like me, I'm evil. Part 16. Whose dog is this? The Beast of Darkness is Götz's inner rage and otherwise bad thoughts. It's just a cool way to show it to us, the reader. If I could show you my psyche, I'd want it represented in a cool way too. Like maybe, ooh yeah, make my psyche look like this guy. People argue that the Beast is a real entity because the first time it showed up, it was outside Götz's head. But you know, spirits do crazy stuff. Of course they'd warp to show him his own psyche. Just because these spirits look like the Beast doesn't mean the Beast is anywhere but inside Götz's head. Whenever this Beast is talking to Götz, it's Götz talking to himself in his mind. That's all. Part 17. Boom. Now I can tell you to go watch this or read the article again. Part 18. Beherit blood, yes? No, they don't require or otherwise have anything to do with blood. Blood just tends to show up around them when they're activated, which is when their owner is in their most desperate moment. Part 19. Is the idea of evil even canon? Yeah, we see it in a currently published chapter. While chapter 83 was removed from later publishings, Miura still considers it canon, just that it gave too much away too early, although it is still unknown whether or not it will show its face or heart again. Part 20. Casca enjoyed what happened to her during the eclipse. Very touchy subject, but it is seen a lot. Short answer, no, she became insane because of it. That should be evidence enough. Part 21. What the heck has Miura been up to? 'Tis not unknown to Berserk fans the nature of Berserk's chapter release frequency. What is unknown is but why. Common joke is that he plays Idolmaster way too much, and while being the funniest thing anyone can say ever, it stemmed from the harmless comment that he bought the game once. He mentioned it once, so maybe he still is playing it to this day, but more likely he's just a genius and it takes time off and on in order to deliver his genius unto us as the idea of evil delivers behelots unto its puppets. Point 22. Is Götz this German guy? Famous old German noble with a metal arm. How could that not be inspiration for our boy? But alas, Berserk started before Miura even knew of this figure's existence. Of course, a very interesting coincidence to say the least, but if he were inspired, Miura would have said so. He talks about his influences all the time. That's about it, my fellow Berserkos. Remember to fully clear up any question you might have, you can go to skullknight.net and read this article. More videos to come, or maybe never again. May the God hand bless you with a fist bump.